Hello, leader. Joining me today is Karen Pavlidis. She owns Child and Teen Solutions, a premier mental health practice in Seattle, Washington. She's also a member of the Leadership Lab, and she was already successful. A full schedule, a full waitlist, strong reputation, and a growing team. She discovered that her revenue can grow faster than her leadership structure. What you're about to hear is what it sounds like when a business owner decides to stop winging the people side of her business and build career pathways on purpose. Now, it's a fact, leadership maturity accelerates when you're inside the right room, having the right conversations, and applying the right tools and coaching with your team. So take a listen to what changed for Karen once structure replaced guesswork. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast, smart leadership for women who mean business. This show has been on air since 2018 to help women who own established brick-and-mortar businesses fix the people side of their business so they can stop carrying payroll pressure, stop over-functioning as the default decision maker, and build a team that actually performs without burning anyone out or damaging their reputation. I'm your host, Shelli Warren. My entire career has been built on leadership coaching, team development, and creating accountable, productive cultures inside real workplaces. Over here, we don't just talk about leadership, we live it. This isn't online leadership theory, academic research, or HR speak. The work we do here is grounded in real teams, real workplaces, and real consequences. Each episode delivers practical, no-fluff strategies to help you lead a team that can carry the business forward with you, not on your back. And I'll say it again, the team that got you here might not be the team that gets you there. Let's go. Here's a bit about our guest today. Karen Pavlidis is a psychologist with over 25 years of experience and licensed to practice in Washington State. She's the founder of Child and Teen Solutions, also known as CATS, in Seattle, a practice devoted to providing evidence-based treatment services and neurodevelopmental assessments for children and teenagers. Karen earned her PhD in child clinical psychology from the University of Washington, and she completed her predoctoral internship at Stanford University School of Medicine. In addition to running her group practice, Karen serves as the clinical instructor at the University of Washington's Department of Psychology. Let's dive in with Karen. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast, Karen.
Thanks, Shelli. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. I love showing off my clients. I love having more people know what my clients do and the impact that they're having in their space and their niche in the industry. So I've been wanting to talk about you because, first of all, I've been to Seattle once and I found everything was just so lush. And I still believe that about the Seattle area. When anybody talks about it or I see it on the news or it's mentioned, it takes me back to this warm breeze and then just the lushness of the foliage, the trees, the flowers. And it just, I have a really great feeling about where you are.
That is how I describe Seattle as lush. Anytime I travel and I come back, I go, wow, it's so lush. And when we enter spring, the entire city goes technicolor, just with the tulips and blossoms. It's cherry blossoms, and it's really incredible.
Yeah, beautiful. So happy to have you here. So tell us, we all know now that you live in the Seattle region and everything absolutely is lush there. And so tell us, what have you learned over the years? What are you seeing? What kind of feedback you're getting? Why are people choosing CATS as opposed to another competitive therapy practice in your region?
Well, one of the things that makes us unique in Seattle, we're one of maybe a couple of clinics that offer therapy and assessment. So most clinics or providers do one or the other. So when families are looking for, we want the whole meal deal, we're the place to come. We offer parenting, child therapy, and we're known for our comprehensive assessments, especially for complex children. The other reason, and it's funny that you asked that because just this morning I was culling some data where we looked at for every client who's scheduled with us in 2025, we have a little question at the bottom of our intake and history forms that says, tell us a little bit about why you chose cats. And so the most common reason is a recommendation from a trusted referral. And we also looked at that data. This week we're doing all this data number crunching, but we looked at and found that other providers, other mental health providers are our most frequent referral source, and also pediatricians in our area. And often families are saying that they're hearing about us from multiple sources, and then they visit our website and they like the content. So the website is packed with content. I have a blog. We educate and we educate about why parents are and caregivers are key to their child's mental health. And so families who are looking for that holistic, sort of deeper level of care are drawn to us.
So tell us more about what that deeper level of care actually is. And are there any misconceptions out there from a parent's point of view or from a grandparent's point of view or a caregiver's point of view?
Somehow, and I'm not sure where this comes from, but our society has this view that a kid who's struggling needs a therapist. And it might sound strange to hear this from someone who's trained in child clinical psychology. But we don't do so much child therapy. We focus on the parents and caregivers. So we do a lot of educating of families who approach us who are expecting that we will assist their 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old with emotion dysregulation or anger. We're going to do that in sessions with the child. And so we really educate families about, parents, caregivers are the agents of change. We're always saying that parents are the agents of change. And actually, I spend a lot of time, I'm trained to be a science practitioner, always steeped in the research literature. And the research on evidence-based treatments for child problems show all of the evidence approaches are parent-based or at least have a major parent component. I'm just not aware of a strong body of literature that's showing that you put a kid in a room with a therapist and they're going to do better.
So are parents thinking, my child has a problem, I need it fixed, I'll get them a therapist, and the therapist will fix my child?
Yeah, so it's often very well-meaning, very loving on the parent's part, like, my kid, maybe, they need somebody to talk to who's outside of the family, somebody neutral, or somebody that will teach them tools to calm down when they get angry. When, in fact, the child does not need us. Therapists do not build a child's self-esteem. It's self-esteem, that's often a common request, is developed through life and living and the environment and the child's sense of agency in the environment, not in a therapist's office. And so working with the context, kids are in, we talk a lot about nested contexts. So we're looking at the school environment, their extracurriculars, home life, parenting strategies. And yes, we will get to know the child and depending on the issues, work directly. But often with the younger kids, we have the parent in the room so that the parents are learning the strategies just as much as the child.
Because the strategies and the tools and the methodologies, they have to carry on outside of the session. And who's better equipped to do that and to ensure consistency? It's really the parent.
And to get to your point that what's deeper, because we do assessment, when we see kids for therapy, we see like, gosh, this kid is struggling in school. It's a big mystery. They need an assessment. We need to know where this child is at cognitively. Do they have a learning disorder? Are they on the autism spectrum? Is there ADHD? They were premature. Maybe there's something going on there that's impacting. And so, back to the nested context, there's also the developmental context of the child. And that is something that we do really well at CATS. And I think this is part of what makes us stand out in our community and our saturated market.
So you mentioned that you have an oversaturated market in the Seattle region. Why is that?
Well, I've been in practice since 2002. And when I started, there was nobody. I mean, very few child providers. And there has been a response in the Seattle area. They've developed programs to train more providers and meet the incredible need that we have. So there's that. And then there's the big thing I see too is there's just people can find people on websites. So 20 years ago, we didn't have these websites, and also we didn't have online businesses. So we have websites, so it's easier for people to find providers. And then now there's more people probably in private practice because of the relative ease of developing an online business instead of brick and mortar. But we at CATS are hybrid. We are brick and mortar. We do a lot of our services in person.
Is there anything, is another factor have to do with the fact that the Seattle region, people that live there, people that work there, can afford to get help for their children?
Yeah, we are in a unique position because at CATS, we do not take insurance directly. Many of our families use their insurance. Their insurance reimburses them after they've paid for us, but probably most areas in the country would not be able to sustain like that. They would have to be insurance-based. And so, but yeah, a lot of the families are highly educated in Seattle. They have the financial resources. They have a lot of homes are two-parent homes, and they have the bandwidth to research and look at and transport their child to therapy.
Yeah, all those things, they add up. It really creates this compound effect. So you also mentioned that, of course, CATS is a brick and mortar. It's a beautiful brick and mortar. Really lovely.
It is the nicest place anyone will ever work. It is beautiful. And when I found this space, I couldn't believe it. I had no company yet, and I jumped on this space because it was so perfect. And it is in one of the few remaining neighborhoods in Seattle that has free parking, for one. It's lakeside. We're right by the lake, and it's quiet. There's a huge playground across the street. And the office itself is really beautiful. The offices have windows and balconies, and we could see the lake and the trees. It's incredible.
And it's also within close proximity to other amenities. So it feels like you're in a community, not in a strip mall.
Yeah. So it feels like, especially in the summer, a vacation community. There's ice cream shop and coffee shops and gift shops a couple blocks off from the lake.
Yeah, it really adds to the experience there for sure for your clients, as well as for you to be able to do some incredible recruiting. So a few of the things that you have done so far, Karen, I'm so impressed with the amount of leverage that you have leaned into in such a short amount of time. But one of the things that I know that you really took a stance on is the fact that you are leading a premier therapy practice in the Seattle region. Therefore, when you recruit new team members to come and join you, you have a high bar. You have a high bar on purpose for a reason. And you've really took a stance on adding in a lot of really thoughtful structure to ensure you are not only attracting those quality candidates to come and join you, they say yes. And then once they join your team, you know how to back it up. You know how to back it up, and it's way more than a beautiful workplace. So tell me, how has your thoughts about building your team, how has that changed at all, or has it changed? Have you always had this approach?
Yeah. What a great question. So when I started Cats, I signed the lease in January 2020 to take over the space March 1st, 2020. I had no idea. I never would have moved forward if I knew we were on the cusp of a global pandemic. And yet I'm so glad that I did. So I didn't have it was just Karen, solo Karen, working in this large space. So, and then by August 2020, I had our first hires. I spent about a year and a half before I decided I was going to move forward with the group business, learning everything I could about a group practice. But now in retrospect, I realize how little I learned about hiring and how to make that a more systematic process. And so I was lucky. I had some great first hires. And over the years, people come and go, and a lot of people who start at CAT start out as postdocs. So really now we're at a place where I'm looking to grow the team. And so that was one of my big motivations for signing on with Leadership Lab. I was like, I really need to go deeper into how to navigate the hiring process. And partly too, because Seattle, we have the University of Washington, we have Seattle Children's, we have, there's some bigger group practices that draw a lot of talent. And so we're competing with some really highly esteemed institutions. And CATS is small but mighty. And so through working with you, provided so many hiring tools. And so when we were entering postdoc hiring season, I downloaded every tool. I read every tool. You have these great sets of interview questions. And so we made it a very systematic process, working to create the same interview. We also worked with our HR person to make sure everything was compliant and systematic and fine-tuning the questions. So we did that. And then I think, and this has been so key, what I found it to drawing strong talent is developing a career pathway at CATS. And so it used to be, okay, you can come do a postdoc and then you can be a licensed psychologist here. Hooray. And now it's like, no, look at your future, and where you may come in as a level 1 team member, meaning you're not independently licensed yet, you're operating under supervision. And then once licensed, you can move into level 2, and then from there, elevate both in terms of promotion with more of a leadership role and also financial benefits.
Yeah, you really jumped on that, Karen. Like, I saw you light up like a Christmas tree when you realized, oh, hey, there's this thing called a career path. Here's the tool. Here's how we're going to restructure it. We spent some quality time during one-to-ones, you and I, mapping all of that out. So you, in a really short amount of time, you got real serious about hiring quality people to join your team. You also got real serious about creating a workplace where you had a career to offer versus a job. And then you got real serious about building in this people structure in order to back all these claims up, so that when you went into an interview and you rolled out, hey, this is what you can expect when you come and join CATS, it really is true. It really is true. You're not doing a mini commercial during an interview, just trying to capture great talent as opposed to your competitor getting them. This was all very true. And so you learned how to build yourself a bell curve in terms of your compensation plan. You got real detailed on that compensation plan and the criteria. You also learned the career pathway and built a specific career pathway for cats, and then built in the criteria and the structure, but also based on the needs of the business. So it wasn't about, hey, come join my team and you'll just continue to blow, you'll get raises after raises and bonuses and all the things and benefits. And oh my gosh, look at all the wonderful things you get. It was thoughtful, and it was also based on the needs of the business. So there were mile markers, right? You've got actual mile markers set up so that people can see, okay, when we reach this level, there's my opportunity. We would need another clinical supervisor. We will at that point need another this type of individual. And so you've really built that out for them, and you're learning how to tell the story in such a way that's very compelling for your new people. And I'm really happy to see that you've been able to attract some really great new people that are going to come and join your team of cats.
Yes. We were thrilled with the outcome of the hiring process. And I should mention too, one of the things that you encouraged me to do is to create a career page on the website. And so I created what I think is a beautiful page, really outlining what's unique about joining cats for a career. And we got a lot of positive feedback from our candidates about the career path. And that I think that was huge. And seeing like, okay, it's not just a postdoc, because most postdoc positions are you go and you do a postdoc and then you got to go find something else. And here it's like, no, when you're here, we want to create a position where you will want to stay. And they could see too, because we have somebody who's been here now is in her 5th year, who's in that higher tier of level. And so I think that was great for them to see. But we did ultimately get our top 2 candidates. And so we could not be more thrilled.
And you also were incredibly transparent on that career portal page. Like you're stating in black and white, here's what you can expect in terms of salary. Here's what would be available to you as you move through your career path. I don't know too many small businesses. I don't even know if there's too many corporate organizations that are that transparent on their career portal, where you're stating out loud, here's the opportunity that we have for you. And right there and then, people can look at that and go, I'm in. I absolutely want to apply. Or others will look at it and go, yeah, I think, that's not for me. But either way, you're making sure that you're attracting the right kind of candidates to come.
Yeah. And I think the kind of people who are drawn understand that after postdoc year, I'm not done growing yet. That developing as a psychologist is lifelong. And so, and I'd say this is one of the most unique things about cats is that after the postdoc year, we continue to offer mentorship. It's no longer supervision because they're independently licensed. And I'm not aware that other places offer it in this formalized way that we do. And we are high touch. Like we are truly, truly invested in our team members' professional growth. And I think that got some attention to see that.
The other thing that you've been really excited about and you've put the effort in is to create an annual review, a meeting that we're calling an annual review, where you, as the practice owner, are coming in and educating your team on, hey, here's what it takes to keep the doors open. Hey, here's some incredible moments that we've had along the way. Hey, here are some challenges that we've faced and we've come through the other side. And hey, for the next little bit, we're going to lift the hood. And you're going to have a peek into seeing what it really is happening here behind the scenes at the practice. And you have spent a great deal of time, Karen, being very thoughtful about how to position this, how to make this annual review meeting something that moves your team towards thinking more like business owners, and then also truly understanding what a great place it is that they work at Cats, for truly understanding that you're all about ensuring long-term viability for this practice. This is not a one-hit wonder. This is not a practice that's going to fold. This is a practice that's going to continue to grow, but it's also going to be able to sustain itself without you, right? It's not all about Karen, because at this point, you still are an incredible revenue generator for the practice. And you know that that has got to change. That has got to change. And so that change starts with educating everyone on the team that, hey, this is what it takes to run a successful, long-term, viable practice in the Seattle area. And I am so excited to hear how they responded to that, because it's so obvious that you've put a lot of time and effort into sharing and doing it in such a way that is practical, realistic, and also not, like you're not trying to fluff anything. You're being very honest and also showing them that these are why we have standards. This is why we have minimal billable hours. This is why we have some standards around our wait list. This is why we have a professional policy. This is why we have a dress code. This is why we have standard hours of operation. This is why we have standards and compliance for how we do our notes. Like, you're really teaching them what it takes to be a professional at the practice.
Yeah, again, I learned about this annual meeting. I've never held it before. It's happening next week. I've had so much fun preparing for it. As I started to gather the information, so 2025 in review and the year or two ahead, it created a story that I wasn't even aware of until I started to gather it. And I'm feeling pretty proud of what I've created, proud of our team that has helped CATS be so successful. And absolutely, I think such an important part of the story is that it did start out as, this is Karen here. I'm very close to the ground in the day-to-day operations. And it's important to me that the team they see me now making changes and elevating the bar and formalizing and our policies and procedures and standards for professionalism. And it's important for me, for them to see, this has nothing to do with me. This is about CATS. This is about the company. This is about creating that long-term sustainability. And also for them to see all of what goes in. This isn't just somebody at CATS field, our admin fields our inquiries and they get scheduled and magically appear. And I have a slide that says, how many supporting professionals behind the scenes do you think helps things run at CATS? I didn't know that number, but once I put it together, it's 20 to 25 professionals that are nobody at CATS. These are contractors, these are designers, website, marketing, and attorneys, compliance. I mean, it's a long list. So that was eye-opening for me, and also validating about why I feel so busy a lot. Like, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes. And I feel like that's an important part of the story to share as well.
And that's true. But they don't realize like all the others that it takes, for sure. So I want to applaud you, Karen, in really getting serious about your business and really building in that structure, the clarity, the direction, and then also holding your team accountable. That was another shift that I saw you make, where you were getting serious about, wait a minute, I'm no longer prepared to tolerate this anymore, right? It's that you hear me say all the time, like, when the leader evolves, so does the team. And it's because the leader evolves and understands that her expectations have been too low. And so we need to raise those and set new expectations and then introduce an accountability system. And you're doing that through the one-to-ones that you host. You're doing it through the team meetings that you host. You're doing it through giving them a career pathway to follow, showing them what their bell curve is, rolling out these new policies, and then holding people accountable to them. These are all ways in which leaders demonstrate that, hey, we're not fooling around here. Like, this is an actual company that we're coming to every day.
And I think it also communicates it's safe here, because this is a tough industry, running a mental health group practice, running a group practice. And there's businesses all the time like ours who are closing their doors because they can't succeed financially. And there was a big incident of that happening a few years ago in Seattle that was kind of shocking for the community. And I felt the team looking at me like, is that going to happen at Katz? And is like, absolutely not. I have worked too hard on the foundation of this company. I know the finances. We have a very strong foundation. And so I feel like also this annual meeting will strengthen that trust and sense of safety that Katz is here to stay, and that it's not just a psychologist running a business. Like, I really am invested in always developing my business skills. And that's what, the Leadership Lab has been huge in helping me elevate those skills to the next level.
Well, it's also, I think, a very loud demonstration of your commitment to your team.
Yeah, exactly.
Of really wanting to help them succeed within their chosen field and show them that, yes, you're their employer. Yes, you are an incredible mentor to them, but you're also an incredible coach because you're teaching them how to be a professional.
Yes.
Right down to the dress code, right down to these little micro habits that happen. You're really taking a stance on this. And I also know that it's been wonderful for your daughter, who also is a part of the practice, for her to see her mom in this light and be so proud of you and watch you be this. I mean, she knows you as mom, right? That's what's hard for our children, especially as they become adult children. It's they see you, well, she's just my mom. But then when they see you in the workplace, when they see you in a leadership role, that's when they go, wow, my mom's kind of a big deal. And I think that is wonderful for an adult child to be able to recognize. And then she is so committed to the company like you are as well. And she's
so dedicated.
Yeah. And she's stepping out of her comfort zone all the time too.
And I feel like it's no coincidence that the more that I step outside of my comfort zone, because she watches my every move, that she's doing this more. So it's I hadn't thought about when I went into, I'm really going to commit to developing my leadership and business skills. And it didn't occur to me that there would be this sort of trickle down effect that I would become a better role model to my own daughter.
Yeah, it's one of those beautiful, tangible outcomes that we don't really target towards, but it's just a beautiful outcome.
It really is.
You two are really a dynamic duo.
We are. I feel like I'm living the dream here.
Yeah, it's very lovely.
Yeah.
So for other practice owners that are out there, what can you tell them, like as they think about growing their practice and growing their team and then moving it to a point where it's sustainable? And then typically there's another growth shift after that. What can you help them in terms of understanding what therapists are wanting in the workplace versus what the practice needs of them? Like, what misconceptions are you seeing with these newer therapists that are coming out, entering the world of work? What has been some of the uncomfortable, like the rubs against, hey, they thought it was going to be like this, but in reality, I need this, which is part of why you're putting in all this structure in place and you're sharing it right in the interview process, is to add that level of clarity. But what have been some of the things that you've had to learn as your team grows in terms of what a new therapist expects in the workplace versus what the workplace requires of them?
One of the biggest themes, and I know that this is one of the biggest challenges in the industry of group practice, mental health clinics, is the utilization. So the productivity, so number of billable hours. And so there's always an expectation set at the time of hiring that, oh yeah, that all sounds great, but that was something I ended up on a very steep learning curve about, that there has to be an accountability system in place, because often I'd say new hires do not always, unless we as leaders explain that there will be accountability. And so otherwise it just seems sort of optional. So that I feel like is so key to be clear. And that has been key to the financial viability of CATS, is that clarity of, oh, I can pay you this much provided you work this much. And otherwise the formula falls apart if there isn't that accountability. So that has been huge. And I have all kinds of systems in place to support that accountability. I certainly did not start out that way, and I've learned to become really, really clear. And the other thing is, and maybe especially in female-run practices, I mean, we're highly relational people, and it is different. And being a supervisor, but it's dual role, being a supervisor and the employer. And so sometimes I think it is educating about. I love this book, Radical Candor. I read it very early on when I opened this business, and have worked hard to practice in a way that aligns, where I'm very direct. And I think usually newer clinicians are not accustomed to that level of directness. And what's important is that being direct helps the younger clinician, the early career clinician, to develop. If we're not giving feedback directly, we're not doing them any service. So sometimes that's an adjustment to know this is just the culture. We're direct. It's for growth. It's for the company, and it works.
Yeah, and that's the whole part of the leadership journey, right? It's understanding that these people come and join your company. They're now under your care and guidance, and you're not doing them any favors by continuing to tolerate unmet expectations or continuing to tolerate any kind of behavior that goes against the team culture or against the brand that you're building. And I love how you've built in so much detail and clarity around your compensation plan, around your benefits, and around the whole future planning for everyone that comes through the door. Because we are seeing, like, especially, I mean, I coached a lot of therapy practice owners over the years, and I have seen that the newer therapists, not all of them, but a good majority of them, they have this notion that they can get paid a lot by working a little. And what they're not understanding is the investment in onboarding, the investment in hiring and onboarding someone and getting them to the level of service delivery and skills required, even getting qualified through compliance, that's an investment that small business owners are happily doing in advance, sometimes way in advance of any kind of return on that investment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And as a small business owner, you just can't sustain that forever and ever. There has to come a point in time where those individuals are absolutely meeting their targets, and they're getting referrals, they're getting renewals, like they're building up a reputation that is complementary to the reputation of the brand itself. So these are all things that it's all part of your leadership toolkit that you're continuing to learn and getting really brave and sometimes bold about how you address things. And how, no, I'm going to have a conversation with her right now, right after the team meeting, about what I just witnessed. Yeah, we're going to get on this right now. Right now. We're going to address it right now. Because that's what it means to be a professional in a workplace.
And that is something I'm really on another steep learning curve, is that to be an effective leader, we have to be brave and bold.
Yeah, for sure. And be uncomfortable with it and still do it. And then just know that it gets easier. It gets easier. It gets easier. It absolutely gets easier. And people respect you for it. So, Karen, I really appreciate you coming on here today and being so open with us, with everything that you've learned, everything that you've implemented. I know you have some really exciting future plans for the practice and new service offers as well. The team is continuing to grow. You've got some great people that are slated to come in and join you as well. You've got some new office space for yourself as well. It's a very big deal to have some even more beautiful space. So tell our listeners, where can they continue to stay connected to you and to be able to watch you and the team in action?
So we have our website, www.childandteensolutions.com. And we do have a newsletter that people can sign up for. And what that does is you get my blog. And then we're still building our social media presence. So that's more of a later 2026 goal. But so for now, if anybody wanted to reach out, it would be to hello@childandteensolutions.com.
I think you're a great example of a business leader who has built an incredibly successful business without social media, Karen. Like, honestly, you have built your reputation, you've built your client roster, you built your team, you built your wait list, all on word of mouth, referrals, relationships, and fabulous results. That's what it really all comes down to, right? Is you put your money where your mouth is. People are assured that you make a promise as to what this experience is going to be like, and people can set their cap on it.
It is 90% word of mouth, at least.
Yeah. But, I think so much these days in small business, people think that you got to have a social media presence. You've got to have a social media presence. And believe me, I'm an advocate for it too. Like, I think you do. Everyone does need to have a social media presence. And at the same time, there are some service-based businesses that honestly don't require as much. It's really more about social proof.
Yeah. I am on LinkedIn. So yeah. And I do post on LinkedIn regularly as well. So.
And you also do you have a local footprint, like in terms of your speaking and collaborations that you do in the local community. And that can go way further than a Instagram post.
Yeah. Again, I feel we have a small but mighty presence in Seattle.
And it's working.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, Karen, on everything that you've built. You've been a pleasure to be able to support all these months. And I'm thrilled to be able to see you have a higher level of confidence and just feel a lot more calm about what's happening in your business.
Thanks, Shelli. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of 2026.
Today's episode is a masterclass in what happens when a business owner decides, I'm done reacting. I'm ready for some structure. Karen's practice didn't need more clients. She needed a clear leadership direction that included standards, accountability, compensation clarity, and career paths in order to attract the best people to come and join her team. And once she committed to building that intentionally, not casually, everything moved faster. She stopped trying to figure out the people side of her business in isolation and raised her hand and asked for help. So if you've been quietly thinking, I should have figured all this out by now, take a breath. What she built in such a short amount of time wasn't luck. And I'm so proud of her because everything she did was based on intelligent and intentional leadership strategy. It was all done on purpose. What you heard today isn't about being organized. It's about leadership maturity, being brave and being bold to make thoughtful decisions that elevate your business. And we all know small business owners, well, they often delay this work because they assume that it has to be complicated, corporate, or years away. It's not. When you're in the right room, having the right conversations, applying the right tools and coaching to your business, momentum builds quickly. That's what the Leadership Lab is. A 6-month, high-touch container for established, high-performing business owners who are ready to stop being the bottleneck, stop reacting to pay and promotion pressure, stop tolerating ambiguity in their team, and stop being the highest revenue generator, and instead Start leading with design team structure. If you're ready for that level of leadership, like Karen was, the Leadership Lab, well, it's your next best move. Grab the link in the show notes or visit stackingyourteam.com. If today's episode helps you see your leadership in a new way, I'd love to hear about it. Come connect with me on Instagram, where I'm at stackingyourteam, and tell me what's troubling you about your team right now. And hey, if you're tuning into this podcast because you work somewhere and you want to develop your leadership skills, I invite you to start following our sister company, Thousand Islands Leadership Consulting. Check us out on Instagram or LinkedIn so you can chart your course to the next level of leadership.
This is Ellie. Come back next Tuesday. My Mimi will have another episode for you.